Sometimes you find your direction and sometimes your direction finds you.
Thanks you guys for joining us on this purpose-driven investment podcast. Today, I have David Moody and Jared Morrison with me. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. We're in San Antonio, Texas today. We're in one of those retreats. I'm so glad I was able to cast these two together to record our podcast. I think last time when we met, you were still kind of deciding what you wanted to do on the probate side of business.
Yes.
I remember that, and since then, it has drastically changed your direction. You eventually pivot your business. So
Yes.
talk to us about how that happened, because I think a lot of people would love to know. We always start with something that we wanted to do, and midway through, as I realized, that's not for me. When was that moment you decided, maybe I need to change my strategy?
Yeah, great question. And number one, thanks for having us. Glad that you invited us to do this with you.
About this.
Okay. And yeah, this is a good question. I think a lot of investors run into this because when you get started, there's so many paths. There's so many different ways that you can go about this investing journey. And to be honest, they all sound really good when you hear about them.
Exactly.
That's
There's
why
money. That's what we're gonna do. I usually start with that.
That's why we wind up in so many different communities. And Jared and I were just laughing the other day because he's in all of Pace's communities.
Yep, every single one.
Every single one, even the Gator, the
Gator,
GC.
top tier. I mean,
Top two,
yeah, they all have their
zero net.
place, and you can
Yeah.
make money in all of them. And it's
Right.
just, really trying to find what
What
fits your
works for you.
personality and your mission, what you're passionate about.
I love how you say about the mission. I think that's why I like about how we sync out the first time we talk about it. I can tell the different purpose, like different passion that shines through our conversation. You really try to find the thing that you enjoy doing, not just about the money.
Yeah.
Right. So what made you decide to kind of pivot away from probate?
Sometimes you find your direction and sometimes your direction finds you. This is a case of our direction found us. We were doing wholesale, primarily working with probate leads.
Right.
And building a business for that.
Right.
And in the course of it, we came across a deal through a wholesaler that was an assisted living deal. It's in Michigan, so it's adult foster care. So somebody brought it to us through the community, and as a result, we decided it was a good enough deal that we wanted to do this particular deal. And then once we got involved with it, it really just got a hold of our heart. And we're like, man, we really like this business model. And then in short order, really, we became a little bit notorious in the community for doing assisted living. And then people are bringing more leads. And Jared and I discussed it, talked about it. We're like, man, we feel more strongly about this than we have about anything else that we've done so far, because there's the opportunity to make money doing it, but you also have a great opportunity to help people.
And just, David and I had great relationships with our grandparents, and, Pace is always talking about, like, you have your active income, but then you also have your mission-driven purpose of what you're putting your money into. And it was like, wow, this fits both. But then also realizing once we bought it, you can't really have two different businesses going at the same time, and assisted living is completely different.
Different business.
It's not
was
co-living.
Really business.
Well, we whittled that down from not having 5 businesses going at the same time to 4 to 3 to 2. We're trying to get to 1.
Yeah, it's much easier to be an integrator of one business.
Once you succeed in one, you can grow if you want to. But I really want to kind of dive into more deeper how the deal came and how did you analyze the deal and realize, hey, this is a really good deal. We should spend more time on it. Right? I'm sure people throwing deal. Go ahead another time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you really do have to have some background knowledge in the industry and business in general, because, the financial statements and the T12 that they send you, that's not going to be how you operate the business. So when they sent us theirs, before we had really dove into it, they're showing some amazing cash flow and enough for us to be like, all right, we're going to hop on a plane. So we flew out. I think 2 days later, we got it under contract, the refundable deposit. But really, we just saw, okay, we're getting a great deal on the real estate. And now we have an opportunity to go into an existing business, completely learn the business. And we saw a great path forward to really increase cash flow and make this a great investment. So that's
I
really
love
what made us decide to do the deal. I mean, it was a slam dunk in terms of all of that.
Yeah, because I think you guys already have a really robust and solid real estate background, right? So underwriting the real estate part, I don't think that's the issue for you. It's understanding the business part to make sure this is actually making profit. Was it the first time you look at the T12 and try to figure out what is this line item here? Then, are they making money or is it just payment for the vendor? Like, how did you sort that out?
I mean, it took time, to be honest, because I audited assisted livings, but they were large scale ones when I was a CPA. So it's a completely different business model.
You have a CPA background. That's your advantage.
Yeah, so me and David had to work together, the owners and with other people in the industry and AI to figure out what should this number be.
Is it on par with what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, but then the more we dove in, the more we realized, okay, there's a lot they're not factoring in that we're going to have to factor in. So,
Like what?
I mean, staff.
Is this one of those owner operated, not getting paid salary kind of situation?
No, they were getting paid.
They were paying themselves around 60,000, but to have full-time staff,
Yeah, in-house.
in-house staff, have a manager, have the correct staffing. I think our staffing cost is, trying to think off the top of my, it's going to be at least 200 grand.
Just to manage a house. What's the size of the facility?
It's licensed for
beds?
20 beds.
20 beds.
Currently, we have 13 residents, and we have to do some construction to get it up to 20.
Oh, I see. So it's
Or
permitted
building
for
remodel.
20 or you have to re-permit it.
We don't have to re-permit it.
Okay,
Yeah,
up
we
to
just have
20.
to build it. Every state will be different, but there's a certain amount of square feet that you need per bedroom per person.
I see.
And so right now we're licensed for 20, but we can only fit 17
Right.
according to that. But we have the space to get to 20. We just have to remodel it.
I see. I know, like, assisted living, there's no question about it. If you're a good operator, you can make a lot of money and also very meaningful, impactful money that you can make. But for you guys, I'm just curious because you don't have assisted living investment background. You're a CPA and you're more like a real estate guy, right? You have maybe a little bit construction experience.
Business and
Business
construction.
industry, right?
Yeah.
So you never really operate a business, right? And you mentioned about there was an opportunity for you to step in and learn with the seller. How does that arrangement look like for you to feel like, you know what, I have enough learning? Or is it just kind of dive right in, swim or sink, that kind of
For
situation?
this one, yeah, it was sink or swim kind of a thing. It was a very distressed situation. We had a very short timeline, a hard deadline that the sellers were dealing with. And so,
Why was the timeline so short? Were they dealing with some sort of...
yeah, one of the sellers had a really severe sickness and had to check in for treatment on a specific date. And so that dictated the timeline. And to be honest, they'd really waited too long to try to sell. But then they wound up with something that you've got a functioning home with residents in it, and then you've got a hard deadline. What are you going to do? You can't just put them out on short notice. And so it was a difficult thing. I mean, it would take a very special, specific buyer to come in and do this
Right.
that had the right skill set. And we probably didn't have all the skills that we needed, but we had enough, and the deal was good enough.
The margin's good for you to be comfortable enough to
Yes.
jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since then, who's been operating the business?
We have a house manager that is there on site.
Okay.
And then I play more of the integrator role of just like helping manage the day to day. So I work a lot with the house manager.
What does the staffing structure look like right now? You have an in-house manager, it sounds like one, right?
We have one in-house manager, and then there's always a staff there 24/7. And our biggest model is people over profits. So we basically staff on the needs of the people no matter what we're making. So there have been times where we have 2 staff on at once, which obviously hikes up the staffing costs in general. But right now we're at 1 staff because the needs of the people, that's where we're at right now.
Are they on like a 12-hour shift, like 12 and 12? Swap?
Right now it's 8.
Okay. So
Yeah,
3 shifts.
it's 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. We're trying to find out what's best for our house and what's best to retain employees because it is a very difficult industry in terms of staffing.
Right, right. And then how about employee retention? Is that something like new skill you have to learn? Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't learned it, and this industry is notorious for high turnover rates. We feel like that as we go, we can build the right culture and pay people competitively enough to retain better than most. First, you got to find good talent and then retain them. And it's difficult. It's an industry that's known for having high turnover, and it's notorious for that already. So we have our work cut out for us, but if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Well, nothing is easy. Anything that's worth doing needs some work to make sure you can perform. And For you to try to fill in those bad, do you have to learn a new skill to market and get those residents in? How do you network and bring those new residents into your house?
Yeah, I mean that's honestly one of the toughest parts. I would say the two toughest parts of the industry are the staffing and then filling beds, because depending on your strategy is who you're marketing to. So for instance, if we had a luxury home, which our home is not, it's more of like a Medicaid type situation.
I see.
If it was luxury, we'd be marketing to the children. Well, a lot of our residents don't even have any family. So really we're building relationships, and David's done a great job with
Social worker?
social workers and guardians and hospitals and really anyone who's in charge of the care of people who need the help who can't necessarily afford it. So they have the system helping them out.
Yeah.
Probably the most challenging thing for us so far has been because there's so many niches in assisted living.
Right. There's
which-
so many different tiers
Yeah.
too. Different tiers of service.
Yep. And the one we bought, like I said, was Medicaid. So it's more of the lower income. But we found some great opportunities, and everything's pointing towards, all right, this is the way. But then we'll just run into random obstacles that just like halt you right where you're standing. So it's been very interesting going through this.
Learning process.
Yeah, and state by state, everything is so different.
Yeah.
So, we're already operating in Michigan. We'll be operating in Arizona very soon. Terminology is all different. The way that funds are distributed from the federal government to the state government down to the residents is totally different. It's just really needs some consistency and standardization across the state level because it's extremely confusing.
I see. So I think you're very cautiously expanding your business. It sounds like, right, you're starting within Michigan, get that sorted. And last time I chatted with you, you're in the process of buying 2 more, maybe?
4 more. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's a package of 4 that we're going through the process right now. We have been back and forth over the last couple of weeks with the seller and our attorney finalizing contracts, and everything's moving forward at a really fast snail's pace.
What would you say in terms of purchasing, term structuring? What's the big difference between just buying traditional real estate versus buying assisted living?
It's really not that much different other than the numbers are a little higher. Yeah, it's not. We did a really creative structure on our first deal. The second deal that we're putting together is also a pretty creative structure, and both times the sellers were agreeable to go on a creative financing route for at least part of the purchase. And so I think that in terms of that, it's really not that much different other than you have a lot more regulation. You just have additional things to check into to make sure that you're doing it correctly than you would with just buying a single family home.
Right. So you probably need a good attorney, business mindset attorney.
We have been working with an attorney on our team who's in the community, Kira, and she really helped us with structuring the Michigan business sale and property. I mean, it is different in the sense because you have 2 different entities, or
Do
you
you
should.
have asset sale and the business sale together, or you kind of lump it together?
You should have both. And then there's a lot of nuances to that, to trying to decide what's the best structure.
Right.
You can, just a little summary, you can either buy a business by buying the assets of the business, or you can actually buy the business, and it's preferred to buy the assets so you don't have the liability. Well, a lot of times in assisted living, you're kind of forced into buying the business just because of the regulations. They've changed. So if you don't buy the business, well, now you have to adhere to all these new regulations. You're not grandfathered in.
Everything again, I imagine.
Yeah,
like
so for-
licensing and everything.
For Michigan specifically, it was if we would have done an asset sale, we would have had to get relicensed, which makes sense, but then we would also had to immediately install fire sprinklers in a 7,000 square foot home.
Wow, that's costly.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
based on what we were buying and the risk we were taking, which was low, we bought the business in that sense. By the end of it, we basically got paid to buy it.
Well,
And-
pay yourself acquisition fee and everything like that.
Essentially, we bought it creatively, and then 3 months later, we cash out refied, and we paid our PML back, we paid ourselves back, and then we still had over 6 figures of operating capital.
Okay, so I need to ask this without getting everybody get the brain aneurysm. So when you say buying creatively, that's kind of explain to that. How did you buy it creatively?
Yeah, I mean, Jared kind of just laid it out just now, but you can go into more detail.
So the home specifically, it actually came with 2 homes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on one parcel. So we saw a great opportunity that if we essentially split the lots, it's going to be worth more. And then also, whenever you buy a house, they're going to give you a loan based on the lower of the appraisal or the purchase price. And we knew we were getting a deal. So not only are we getting a deal, well, we have 2 properties that we could split the lot and it'll be worth more.
Right.
So we need to buy it and then cash out refi.
And split the lot after
Yep.
you bought it. Okay. You basically just kind of force appreciate the property just by subdivide the lot.
Plus, we were able to get a short-term sub-2
Uh-huh.
on some existing financing that was in place, and we talked them into 90 days from closing sub-2 loan, which gave us 90 days
To get
to
your
get the
back
financing.
together. Yeah.
Yes, and so thankfully we were able to get all of that done within the 90 days. The amount of cash we had to bring was probably about 25% of the whole purchase.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And the sub
Uh,
2 is also, you don't have to get a lot of loan bank like approval. Basically, just subject to existing loan
Right.
and just wrap it real quick and then refi. That's
Yes.
genius.
Well,
And
yeah.
sellers are
Every now
part
and
of
then.
everything. That's what you find a motivating seller. That's what make everything happen. I'm so proud of you guys. And I think that's so awesome that you found your lane and decide, you know what, this is for me. And I'm just gonna dive right in and just start building on it and start expanding and found your purpose.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been exciting.
Yeah. Well, I hate to cut it short, but as you can see, it's getting dark.
Losing daylight.
We're losing data. But I will have to catch up maybe buy your lunch or something, sit down and learn more about it. That's not on tape. So anyway.
Anytime.
Well, thank you so much for coming to my podcast, Purpose Driven Investment Podcast. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Shinyi.
Yeah, thank you for having us.